I should really start off this video by saying this. This is my first Animal Crossing game. Up to this point, Animal Crossing didn't even begin to show up into my life until... then almost completely fell out of my life again until... From that point forward, it seemed like I couldn't stop hearing about New Horizons. Even then, the game didn't really interest me at all. Life simulator type games have never really been my cup of tea. To be honest, I'm more of a first-person shooter, turn-based RPG, 2D platforming, 3D platforming, hack and slashing, puzzle solving, story seeking kind of guy. I've tried giving games like The Sims multiple shots, but they never really clicked with me. So when Nintendo announced the new entry for their life simulator type franchise, I simply just didn't care. Up until the game was delayed, I saw it everywhere, then it seemingly just fell off the face of the planet for a while. I didn't even realize it was released until I started seeing memes on Twitter about Isabelle and Doomguy. However, in the month of March, I already had 2 other games that would take up the majority of my time, so Animal Crossing fell to the wayside for me. But with the state of the world in 2020 and me wanting to expand my horizons with games, no pun intended, after 1 month and $60 being sent to Amazon, I finally got my hands on my first Animal Crossing game. With all that being said, let's boot it up. It's honestly pretty hard to find a place to start with this game. It did have its highs and lows, but there's not really a definitive point to start a conversation on. So let's go ahead and start by touching up on the game's story. Believe it or not, there was a story to this game. But it's not the kind of game where you're starting a colony to build up an army, crafting tools, weapons, and armor, arming yourselves and making sure that you and your villagers are armed to the teeth to fight off against a giant sea monster because it endangered your way of life. No, there's none of that in this game at all. Too much? Instead, the story is more about building the notoriety of your island. To break it down, the story involves you arriving on a deserted island, inviting other villagers, and prettying it up so that a famous musician dog who calls everyone a cool cat plays a song in the town square, which will then make the island even more popular somehow. On paper, this sounds completely boring, and to be honest, it kinda is. But for the setting of the game itself, this actually kind of works. This game is by no means a story-driven game, and that's perfectly fine. But getting through this loose story is where my primary issue with the game comes into play. Everything you do in this game is blocked behind a 24-hour limit. For the most part, this isn't an issue. I have no problems with waiting for buildings to be finished under a certain amount of time, but because everything is on a 24-hour limit, this makes the early portion of the game kind of a slog to play. Whether it's building homes for new residents, setting up shops, bridges, inclines, moving buildings, or even purchasing items from the resident services building, you need to wait until 5 AM the next morning for that to become available to you. The reason this is an issue isn't because of the waiting, but it's because during the course of the game's story, you run out of things to do very quickly. On your first day on the island, you have pretty much nothing. You have the ability to craft a fishing rod, and then that's about it, really. You can catch bugs, you can fish, talk to the 2 people who are on your island, but honestly I stopped playing in less than an hour because the game essentially told me, you're done, so stop playing. For things like shops and the museum, this was perfectly fine, but there was a point where new villagers were being added to the island, and despite me completing all 3 houses in 1 day, they trickled in 1 day at a time after that. While they were moving in, there was no sense of progression being made on the island. Tom even said there was nothing he could think for me to do and to figure it out for myself. The game essentially put itself into a lockdown state for 72 hours until the final villager moved in. You'd think they'd all move in the very next day at the same time, but this is what really made me take issue with the time lock. While I'm not opposed to time locks in games, the way Animal Crossing handles it doesn't feel like a necessary addition to the game. It feels more like an artificial way to extend the game time. There are a few smaller things that I had issues with in the game, like the fact that everywhere you walk is on a grid, but there's no way to snap yourself to the grid, making you dig or place a path down 1 block off of where you wanted, or the lack of actual eyebrow customization, meaning you had to resort to penciled on eyebrows using the customization settings and face paint, or that the game seems to be lacking a lot of quality of life features, like eating more than 1 fruit at one time, or being able to purchase multiple unique items at one time from the shop. So managing the game's menus can be a bit of a slog as well. But at the end of the day, those are all very small issues compared to the fact that the game is on an unnecessary time lock. I understand you can't really build a house in real life in 2 seconds, let alone one day, but even still, I see this as more of a hindrance to the game rather than a benefit to it. And yes, I do know that you can use the time traveling method to push your clock forward and bypass all of the waiting there, but this was my first Animal Crossing game, so I wanted it to be as authentic of an experience as possible. But I can definitely understand why people would resort to that method, and to be honest, I'm probably going to be doing that eventually too. However, if this is your first experience with the game, then I would definitely recommend playing it at the game's pace, rather than time traveling, at least until you complete the concert thing. That way you have time to get accustomed to the island you're living on, as well as the general game mechanics. After that, time travel, go nuts. I don't care. Everything goes uphill from there. Because once you get through that level of tedium, the game actually starts to get really good. So, for a long while, I was finding it difficult to pinpoint why I like this game as much as I do. It's not the laid-back island life, or the waiting game, or even the cute villager animals, but after a while, it finally clicked. The game is a small-scale level designer. They give you a blank canvas to essentially do whatever the heck you want with. This is a game where you have the creative freedom of actual level designing software, which is why it's been consuming my life for the past month. Once you get past the tedium, the island is yours to do what you want with. You want to make an urban environment? You can. You want to make a wooded countryside? Go nuts. You want to make a bamboo farm? You can do that too. You want to turn your island into Danny DeVito? As weird as that sounds, that's an actual thing somebody did, and it's honestly the best thing I've ever seen. The possibilities are damn near endless. Looking online, you can find plenty of amazing looking islands that I have nowhere near the creativity to accomplish. I'm not the most creative person on the planet. I mean, I literally named my island The Island, so that should say a lot about me. But even for the low level of creativity that I do have, I haven't been able to tap into that since I stopped making levels for Portal 2, so it's nice to have a game where I can get back to my roots, so to speak. On top of that, while this game does rely on a crafting system, it never feels overburdening. A lot of other games would require the player to obtain a large amount of materials to craft pretty much anything. In this game, it doesn't feel overbearing on the player, and that's primarily because there's a good balance between where to spend your money and where to spend your materials. Crafting materials are really just used for tools and decorations, while money is used more for construction and island expansion. In other games, making a bridge would require a large amount of materials to pull off, but in this game, all you need to do is pay for it and wait 24 hours, rather than requiring 400 iron nuggets and 200 wood or something like that. This allows you to spend your materials on things you'd want to make the island look better, rather than something that would benefit the overall island layout. Even gathering materials from trees and rocks doesn't feel like a burden on me when I need sticks or wood to craft something. Iron nuggets are a little rarer to come by, but I personally haven't found myself running out just yet. And the game has an overall amazing soundtrack. I mean, that bass is just... I mean, it's at least a C+. Yeah, I'll see myself out now. No, but in all seriousness, I could listen to several of these tracks for hours on end. As for the villagers themselves, this is the lineup I was given. I kinda just went through and accepted the first villagers I ran into, so I didn't try for any specific ones. Except for Harry, he just kinda showed up out of nowhere on my island, so I'm trying my best to get rid of him. Their personalities are all pretty samey though. There's a few personality types that a villager can have, and I have duplicates of the peppy, jock, and cranky villager types on my own island. However, because they're set up this way, villagers that share personality types end up repeating the same lines back to me. So your choice in villagers really boils down to what personality types you want, and what you want that personality type to look like. I can't really fault the developers for this, because according to the wiki, there are 391 different villagers that you can invite to the island, so I imagine making 100% unique personalities for that many characters would be kind of a hassle. Even still though, the repeated dialogue kinda takes me out of it sometimes. Or maybe I'm completely off base on that and have no idea what I'm talking about. I mean, I've only interacted with 10 of them, and the only one with any sense of unique personality is Ruby, because she's actually said some things Flora hasn't, and managed to get a chuckle out of me. I mean, there has to be a reason why everyone wants Secretary Cat and this cotton candy bubblegum hamster, right? I mean, I'd say it's just because they're cute, but I don't think Secretary Cat is really all that cute. I mean, I kind of get Judy. I can see how that would be considered kind of cute, I guess. But, I mean, I must be missing something outside of a Google search where I need to censor the screen because of erotic fan art, right? Right? I don't know, it seems like for the most part they're just repeating dialogue, which could be a little better, but I won't complain about that too much. I do wish you could invite more to the island though. The limit is 10 villagers, not including yourself or other profiles on the Switch. I just have a lot of dead space on my island that I don't really know what to do with right now, so filling it up with more villagers would have been nice, but oh well. All in all, this game has made a believer out of me. If you told me a year ago I'd actually take the time to buy and play an Animal Crossing game, let alone enjoy it, I'd have laughed at you. But I think I can safely say that I'm a fan of this franchise now. Or at the very least a fan of this one entry in the franchise. Does that mean I'll go back and retroactively start playing City Folk New Leaf for the original? No, I probably never will. But I'll keep an eye on future titles in the franchise, and everything coming next for New Horizons. I missed out on the Bunny Day event, which I've been told by a few people I dodged a bullet on, but I'm looking forward to the other events in the coming months, specifically that Halloween one. I always love it when games have seasonal and holiday events like that, so I'm looking forward to what comes next for this one. But that's about all the time I've got. I've got to get back to playing Animal Crossing New Horizons on my Nintendo.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more!
Putting these stale memes aside, the game is honestly really good, and if there's one good thing I can take from all the bad in the world right now, it's that it gave me the time to set off on New Horizons and play things I otherwise wouldn't. And yes, that time the pun was intended. So if you've also got the time, and if anything I said here seemed even remotely interesting to you, then I would definitely recommend picking this one up. On the surface, it's a very slow-paced Collect-a-thon. However, if you're willing to bear with it, then you can turn it into something much, much more than that. But with all that being said, I won't take up too much more of your time. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, sub, you know, all that smooth jazz, and I will see you in the next one. Later.